Welcome to Office Hours, everyone. It's Wednesday. Glad to have you all here. We have a lot of new subscribers to Work It Daily's channel here on YouTube. So if you're new, welcome. We're glad to have you here today. My name is JT. I'm the founder of Work It Daily. I'm one of the career coaches here, career therapists, we call ourselves. And for the next 30 minutes, I am going to answer your questions here in real time. So how do I do that? How does that happen? Well, I've got the chat popped up over here. And the only thing you need to know is if you do want to ask a question, please make sure you put the word question in all caps first. Then you can write out your question. That doesn't need to be in all caps. But that way I can pick it out of all the chatter, because there's usually a lot of people talking amongst one another. So it's a lot easier for me to see the questions when you put that word question in all caps first. The other thing I'm going to warn you is that it goes really fast here. We have hundreds, sometimes thousands of people online. I can't get to every question, and a lot of times the chat goes fast, so I miss your question. Feel free to repost it, but I can't guarantee that I'll answer every question today. So what do you do if you do absolutely positively need your question answered? Well, then you join us at Work It Daily, and you're going to hear a lot more about that here today. If you enjoy this career coaching experience, you literally could have this 24/7, and we'll show you how that's possible. But now I'm going to get down to the business of saying hello to everybody. Lots of regulars here today. Shout out to Kimberly and Christopher and Sylvia, Mir and Michelle. Lots of people here. Tina, Bonnie, good to have you all here. So I'm going to scroll to the top here. I think my first question is from Kimberly, and she says, can you explain more about the 30, 60, 90-day plan? What should it look like? I typed one up in a Word doc, but should it be in a PowerPoint presentation? Okay, so we'll back up first and tell everybody what is a 30, 60, 90-day plan. Well, if you are in job search mode, this is something that you would use in the very late stages of an interview process. So when you're working with a company and they're getting to know you through the interviews, you're gathering a lot of data about them and the position. And one of the great ways for you to essentially close the deal and get the job offer is to present to them, based on what you've learned through the interview experience, how you would implement yourself into the role in the first 30, 60, 90 days. So you're essentially mapping out how you would see onboarding yourself and being successful. Now, why do companies like this? Well, first of all, it's going to prove that you really do understand the job and what it would take to be successful in it. I mean, if you can write out your own game plan, that's pretty good. It also is going to give them a chance to see how proactive you are, that you're going to take ownership of your success in the company. And it gives you both a common guide to work off of to make sure that you are progressing at the pace that you want to. So essentially, you're proving to them that you can hit the ground running and you can take ownership of that. And companies really do appreciate this. Again, I mentioned in the front of this that it's at the late stages of the interview process. This isn't something that you whip together the first time you go interview. That would actually look pretty silly. You need to gather that data, have those interactions, meet with various people in the company, and then you're able to put together this very concise, very personalized, very customized 30, 60, 90-day plan. So what goes into it? Well, obviously you're going to have first 30 days, next 30, and the last 30, and you're talking about key milestones. So obviously the company has probably defined for you elements of the job that they want you to be successful at. Well, you're going to walk them through how you're going to get to that success point at the end of the 90 days. And some of the things that we teach inside Work It Daily, we actually show you how to create a 30, 60, 90-day plan inside our platform. We have a video on it. Some of the things that we teach you is about how to quantify and prove that you are being successful. So when you are paid to do a job, the company needs to know that you are going to provide the proper return on investment, which means you're going to save or make them enough money to justify the cost of hiring you. Now, hiring you costs more than your salary. In fact, studies show it's about 130 to 140% of your salary that the company has to pay to cover your benefits, federal, state taxes, training time, etc. So you really want to be thinking about in that 30, 60, 90-day plan how you're going to show them milestones that you're reaching that say, hey, here's your return on investment. I'm making sure that you're going to get your money's worth by hiring me. And that is very important for you to do through that process, plus some other things. But lastly, the question here was, what do I put the document in? We suggest some kind of presentation format. So it was mentioned here, maybe a Word document or a PowerPoint. PowerPoint's a great option. I will tell you there's other things out there you can use. There's a free tool out there, for example, called Prezi, which can kind of snazz up and create animation in the presentation. But you definitely want to have it in some kind of presentation format. One, in the event they wanted to bring it up and look at it, but two, it reads better if you were to print it out and bring it as a copy and leave it behind. It's easier for them to read. A long-winded paragraph type document isn't really going to make the same impact as a sort of a bulleted PowerPoint presentation or Prezi presentation. And that just leads to my last piece of advice about these. The one thing I want to caution you on is giving too much information away. I've seen people who have put together very comprehensive 30, 60, 90-day plans only to not get hired and have the company use the plan for somebody internally or for some other candidate. So you want to make sure that you're showing them the 30,000 foot level. It's just enough information for them to know that you know what you're talking about, but it's not so much information that you're giving them a blueprint to give to somebody else. So you do have to caution yourself against that as well. Okay? All right, I hope that gave everybody an overview of 30, 60, 90-day plan. Again, I will mention to you that this is something we teach inside the Work It Daily program. For those of you that don't understand who we are and what we're about, we are a career coaching platform that provides access to an incredible amount of career videos and tutorials. So it's anything you've ever need to figure out about job search, career planning, career change, you name it. We've got the courses to support you. But then you're also put into a private community, a private Slack channel, where you're able to not only talk with other members privately, not out in the universe, so it's secure, but you also work directly with our career support specialists who all have been trained by me to answer your questions and work with you through these things. So it's like having your very own career coach literally in your back pocket. And you have access to this whole platform 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's really pretty amazing. And the best part is it's really inexpensive. So I hope that you'll go check it out if you haven't checked us out before. It's a very low monthly membership, no setup fees. You can cancel at any time. But honestly, we built this company on the idea that everybody deserves coaching. Coaching is a path to greatness. It is not a sign of weakness. And a lot of people are fearful of getting help, when in reality, it's the very thing you need. The problem has always been the cost and the ability, the geographic ability to get at a career coach, to meet with a career coach. Well, we've removed both those barriers. Work It Daily is so affordable and it's virtual. So it drops those geographic and economic boundaries to great, great career support. So if you've ever said to yourself, gee, I wish I could get further in my career. I wish my job search was going better. I wish I had more. We're the platform that helps you figure that out. We literally are the secret weapon for thousands of people now and growing every day. So I hope you check it out, and especially if you want a 30, 60, 90-day plan. Okay? All right. Moving on to the next question. Let's see, Utudian's Minor. I don't know what, I hope I said that right. Question is, I was a manager in my last role and would like to apply for a lower position in another company. Should I change my title in my resume so as not to be seen as overqualified? Ugh. So that's one of those tricky questions that there's no simple or straightforward answer to that. So for starters, if you were to not say that you were a manager, you're right, you would not appear as overqualified. But if later on in the process, let's say you want to become a manager at their company, how are you going to then go back and say, oh, well, actually, I was a manager all those years at that other company, I just didn't tell you, right? I think trying to change who you are in order to get this one job is really setting yourself up for, problems later on. And so I would advise you not to change that title. Now, you are correct. If you were to simply apply online, they'll take a look at it and potentially say you're overqualified. But if you learn anything from Work It Daily, you know that we don't believe in the ATS system. It's broken. Less than 3%, studies show, of people who apply online ever get a call from the employer. It is designed to screen you out. So my advice to you is to leave manager on there, but build a proactive strategy for going around the ATS system. What you need to do is learn how to do a proactive job search. And that's what we teach inside Work It Daily. In Work It Daily, we want you to be a job shopper. We don't want you to feel beholden to what's out there. We want you to figure out who you want to work for and why. And then we want you to build the right strategy for introducing yourself to the organization and giving them those compelling reasons why you're so excited about their products and their services and their business in general. That is going to impress employers, especially if you have this background and they say, well, you're overqualified, but wow, you certainly seem passionate about our company. There's potential here. Maybe we can bring you in at this one level, but wow, now that we know that you love who we are and you have this additional management background, there could be potential for you to grow here in the future. So there's a better way to conduct a job search than to just apply online, especially when you're trying to apply for a job that is lateral or maybe even a step down from where you are currently. And I think that that's the more important thing for you to be thinking about here. So I would not advise you, the simple answer is I would not advise you to change that. What I would advise you is to change the strategy to ensure that you don't automatically get thrown out by the ATS system. Okay, great question. Bonnie says, what do you do when you are getting interviews, screens first and second, but no offers? I am 61-year-old. Is this age discrimination? So You know, Bonnie, I can't give you, there's not enough information there for me to ever make a claim that it's age discrimination. I wasn't there for your first and second interviews. I don't know the organizations that you've been applying to and talking to. I would say that if you're getting these interviews, obviously your experience is clicking. Whatever you've got on your resume, your LinkedIn profile is working. You're getting first interviews, and that's fantastic. You're getting second interviews. I think what you have to do is figure out what's happening between that second interview and the job offer stage. Why are you not getting those? And you really want to dig deep into that. So now what I'm not suggesting is that you call up the employers and say, can you tell me why you didn't hire me? I don't think that that's really the case. What is better to do is to partner with somebody, and this is where career coaching really comes in handy, and walk through what happened in the interview. So for example, inside Work It Daily, in the executive program, we have a lot of people who are going after very high level jobs, very competitive jobs. And it's down to them and another finalist. And when they don't get the job, what they do is walk me through, they type up for me exactly what they did in every step. What were the questions they were asked in the interview? What were the responses they were given? What was the feedback that was given by the employer? Why did the employer say they chose somebody else? Where did they leave that? And we really dissect the whole thing. We look at the whole thing holistically in order to decide what can be done there. And the reason I say that is that a lot of times people make the assumption that because they didn't get the job, the company's saying no, not ever, that's age discrimination or they're never going to hire you. And that's really not the case. A lot of times companies have several truly qualified candidates. And it's like staring at a bucket of apples and they all look equally good. How do you pick one? And so companies have to go on their gut and make a decision, and they pick who they think is going to be the best for the job. Now, sometimes that person doesn't work out. So the one thing I would say to you is all these companies that you made it to second round interviews, you should be going back after a month or so and checking in and saying, I just wanted to see if that candidate worked out. If not, I wanted you to know that I had such a great experience with you all. I'd really love to still be considered, if something changes or if another position comes available. The other reason you do that about a month later is even if that person did work out, companies are always hiring and growing, and you never know when another job similar or maybe even a better fit for you might come along, and they need to know that you're still interested. Because what companies make the assumption on is that when they don't hire you in that first round, that you're probably angry with them, don't ever want to talk to them again, don't ever want to work with them again. So you have to think about the fact that it's up to you as a business of one to stay in touch with them. I mean, you went through this whole interview process, you got all the way to second round interviews, and unless they said to you, hey, no, you really screwed up, we don't ever want to hire you, then the relationship is still there. It's something still worth nurturing in the event you can be the right candidate for them down the line. So that would be my advice about those opportunities that you've dealt with. But I can't, say that this is age discrimination. Every situation is unique. And what you can do is spend some time looking at that last interaction you had and really diving in deep and figuring out, was there something I could have done differently? Is there something I could have said differently? Was there something that I could have mentioned? There's always room to look at that and try to fix that. But after that, it's just a question of sometimes they pick the other apple. And what you have to do is not throw away that relationship altogether. Like I said, keep nurturing it, stay in touch, because you just never know. Okay? All right, great question. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, so many questions here today. Let me see if I can get there. Gail says, how to explain leaving a highly toxic workplace during an interview without speaking negatively about my former employer. Yeah. So Gail, I actually just wrote an article for Inc. magazine about this. Maybe the support team can pop it in the chat for you. Whenever you leave a bad experience, we obviously know that we don't want to throw the employer under the bus. And the reason for that, just in case any of you are wondering, especially if you're saying, but JT, it was so awful. The truth is that in HR and in hiring, we're taught that there are three sides to every story. There's yours, there's theirs, and then there's the truth. And that really is the case, right? Because we all process experiences subjectively. We're human beings. So if it was a toxic work environment, it was toxic for you, probably for other people as well. But every person in that environment has a little bit different story on what happened there. So all you can do is focus on the facts. And so what you should do is the model that we teach called experience, learn, and grow. And I would say, think about what you experienced at that company. And by that I mean, what were all the good things that happened there? What brought you to the company? Why did you admire it? What were some of the skills that you learned? Think about everything that's positive. Then you can say, at this point things changed and the dynamic changed, and it wasn't the same work environment that it was previously. And I knew that I really needed to go and find a space that was better suited for my strengths and, my ability to grow as a professional. And so we parted ways, right? So that's what you're going to say. You're going to own up to those were the facts. This is what you got out of it. Then there wasn't an opportunity to get as much out of it, and you knew for your own sake, for your own business of one, the right thing to do was to move on and find a new and better opportunity. And then you pivot back to why you're so excited about their opportunity. This is where we tie in the grow part, because you experience some things, some powerful things, not negative, just powerful. You learn from them, and now you're going to apply what you learned so that you can make an even better decision when you're looking for your next employer. So you're going to be able to say to them, now I'm looking for an employer like yours that has this and this and this and this, which my former employer didn't. And that's how I know that I can get so excited about your opportunity and the ability to leverage my skills here and do great work, because that's what they want to hear. They want to hear how you're poised to give the greatest return on the investment, right? Because they're going to pay you money. They're going to pay you good money for a job. So you want to talk about how this whole experience, not negative, just powerful, taught you that you needed to go find something new, and now you can't wait to knock it out of the park for them. That's the storyline that you want to be able to tell, okay? And it is really important that you get comfortable there. In fact, I just want to say this to everybody. If those of you aren't already part of it, we're doing a 28-day career reinvention challenge as part of our membership in the Work It Daily program, and we kicked it off a week ago, last week. And anybody can join at any time and start the 28-day challenge. You didn't have to start with us per se. But one of the things that we taught this week, and if you didn't see the live event on Monday, you can always go back and watch it here, is we talked about this experience, learn, and grow model, but how many times people don't really grow. So you have an experience in your career, maybe it was a toxic work environment, maybe you got fired, maybe something happened, you dealt with a difficult person, you learned a lot from that, right? But you also carry a lot of pain with that, or maybe anger, or frustration, or embarrassment, or insecurities, whatever the case may be. And they're still here, my props from the other day. Every time you have an experience in your career and you don't fully process it and don't truly grow, you actually carry it like a rock. And what happens over time in our careers is that we build up these rocks. We get lots and lots and lots of these rocks, and they start to build up a wall. And eventually that wall kind of towers over us, and there's not a lot of daylight. There's not a lot of sunshine. And it gets really hard to feel good in our careers. So if this sounds like to you, if you're walking around with pockets and pockets full of rocks in your career, then you probably don't feel very good about your career. And so anytime you have an experience like that, you have to fully process it all the way to the point that you've grown. Now, what's the litmus test? How do you know that you've grown? You let go of the negative emotions associated with it. When you can talk about an experience in a way that you realize it gave you something, it gave you power, it gave you knowledge, it gave you strength, and you can get excited about the fact that you truly learned from it, that's when you've grown. So any of you that are still sitting there and saying, yeah, but I'm still hurt by that, I'm still struggling with that, then you haven't made it all the way through the equation. You're still sitting in the learn spot. You're not in the grow spot. And I challenge you to do what you have to do to work through that. And if you're not part of our 28-day reinvention challenge, that's a really good reason to join us, because this program that we're taking people through is showing them literally how to drop the rocks, how to get rid of that negativity, those roadblocks, those things that have happened in your career that are truly limiting you from going out and pursuing career success and satisfaction. It's pelting you with negative self-talk, and it makes it literally impossible for you to change careers, find a better job, find more joy and satisfaction, and go after what you really want. You're paralyzed. You're absolutely been dragged down and held in place by all these rocks, and so you have to set them free. And if you don't know how to do that, then I would definitely tell you to join us, because this 28-day career reinvention challenge is changing lives. People are in there talking about it every day, and I'm excited. They're dropping their rocks, which was the goal. So, all right. Thank you so much. Great question. Let's see. I've got one. So Christopher says, I am not getting calls after applying. I'm optimizing my resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn profile. Why might this not be happening? Because you're applying online, Christopher. If your only source of connection to that employer is applying online, then you're right back where you started, 3%. 3% get called. Very, very little. And this is something that we try so hard to make people understand inside the Work It Daily platform. There's an entire section on how to deal with this. Applying online, no matter how great your resume, let me tell you something, our resume template and tutorial is awesome. No matter how well optimized your LinkedIn profile is, and literally every day people see way more people viewing their profile. Even your cover letters, doesn't matter how much we teach you to optimize those. If you aren't looking at companies and saying, how am I going to connect with a human being there, you're dramatically limiting your ability to get hired. It's just reality. Don't shoot the messenger. I know that's hard to hear. So, all those companies you're applying to, you also need to be building a strategy to find people who work there and connect with them. And we have all those tutorials inside the Work It Daily platform on networking that teach you how to do that. How to customize your connection requests on LinkedIn, how to target people, how to set up informational interviews, how to use your existing network to reach out and ask them, do they know anybody at these companies? You have to do that legwork, because that actual personal connection is what's going to get your resume pulled from an ATS. It's what's going to get you to the hiring manager so that you can give them your incredible disruptive cover letter that tells the amazing story of why you feel so deeply connected to the employer that makes them go, oh my gosh, I have to meet Christopher. But if you're just applying online, you're not dramatically improving your chances. And that's hard for people to hear, because we want to hide behind our resume. We want to hide behind our LinkedIn profile. If I can just make those perfect, right? We all want to be perfect. We don't want rejection. None of us want to be rejected. But the funny thing is about job search is that you should never look at it as rejection. It's not, again, it's that pile of apples. Seriously? I mean, they picked that apple. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're a great professional. The challenge is standing out, being the apple that's at the top of the pile so that you can even be seen and considered. And that's the strategy that we teach you inside Work It Daily. So I would never, I have people come to me and say, oh, I put my resume through this online program and they're telling me it's only a certain percentage match for ATS. And I just shake my head, because those systems don't work. It doesn't matter how much you optimize your profiles. ATSs are designed to get rid of you. And 80% of all jobs today are gotten via referral, meaning somebody knew somebody and was able to get their resume to the hands of somebody in the organization. So, Christopher, my advice, any of those companies that you applied to, grab the list of employers and start finding people to connect to on LinkedIn. I need to reach out and see if they can help you follow up and track down the hiring manager. That is the way to do it. And I know that that's scary for people, because we don't want the human rejection. It's easier to be rejected by a bot, a machine, an ATS, than it is to be rejected by humans. But if you want to get hired, and I know that you do, you've got to do it. Okay? All right. And it's much easier to do when you know what to do. So be sure to check out the tutorials on that inside Work It Daily. Okay. Let's see. James says, in today's digital environment, would it be a good idea to mail a physical resume to a potential employer? There is no job posting listed. However, there is a online application available. Okay, that's really interesting. So if there's no job posting, but there's an online application, then this is a company that just leaves their portal open in the event, an interesting application comes through the door and it's somebody they want to pursue. Sounds great in theory, right? When companies started doing this, it made sense. But let me tell you what really happens on the back end. Some admin in the organization is told to go in there once a week and pull all the resumes and take a look and then file them away. And then when an actual job comes available and they decide to post it online, do you think that they actually go to the big pile of resumes that they pulled from their open application? Nope. They post the job and they look for new people. So I don't advise you to do that. I really don't, because once you do that, your application's on file and it kind of shuts the door for you. What I do advise you to do is think about and write an incredible introduction letter, or what we call a disruptive cover letter. And that disruptive cover letter isn't about how great you are and all your experience, because that's too salesy and it doesn't work. It's a letter that talks about how you've come to learn that what this company does is truly special. What life experience did you have? What event taught you that what they do is different, faster, better, cheaper, smarter, unique? Help them understand your connection to them. And this is so important to do, folks, because it's just the beginning of your relationship with an employer. When you identify that connection, it's something you can write in the cover letter. It's something that you can explain when they ask you, why do you want this job? And it really shows that, hey, I'm not just here for the paycheck. We both know I want to get paid and I want good benefits. That's a given. I want to work at a good employer. But let me tell you why I'm intrinsically motivated to work here. Let me tell you what's going to get me up and get me to work every day. It's not the paycheck. It's not that you're the employer, it's the work that you do, it's the work that I would be doing. This is what you want to tell employers, folks. This is what gets you job interviews and gets you hired. Because they hear all day long from people who have the skills and who want the paycheck, but they're looking for the person that has the affinity, has the connection to what they're about. They want to know that you are intrinsically, deeply, internally motivated to get up and come to work every day. And so when you explain that, that is a better way to do it. So no to the online application, yes to figuring out how you're going to be able to explain how you feel connected to the organization and the ways that you can do that to people there so that you can get your foot in the door. Okay? All right. Let's see. Nick says, how do you close the interview when the employer says they want to interview more candidates? Yes, it's pretty common these days, Nick, and I know it's frustrating, but employers have this feeling. Sometimes they meet a candidate and they go, gosh, you're perfect. And they say, but wait, what if we hire you and somebody more perfect comes along? Right? And that's so frustrating because as a job seeker, you're saying, are you kidding me? But it is common for companies to say we need to, investigate or interview other people. So when they say that, the first thing that you should do is say, that's great. I'm glad you're doing that. Because that's not what they expect you to say, is it? But if you can smile at them and say, oh, that's great. I totally understand. I'm glad you're doing that because you want to make sure that you're really hiring the right person for the job. That is how you should respond to that. You can then say, with that being said, is there anything about my candidacy, my skills, my experience that you feel is missing or that you wish that I had more of that would make me a better match for this job so that you really thought I was the right candidate for the job? Is there something? And that's your chance, because if for some reason they're saying they need to interview other candidates and they're saying it because really they don't think you have what they need, that's your really polite and nice way to ask it so that they can tell you. And they might say, well, we are thinking about, we need somebody who has 5 years experience instead of 3, or we were really looking for somebody who came from this industry, not that industry. And that's going to give you a chance to say, I've got it. Okay, it makes sense. And maybe there's something from your past that wasn't on your resume or something that you could explain to counter that, but at least you now understand what they're looking for. And then you can say, I understand. Can you give me a time frame? I want to be proactive. Can you give me a time frame on when I can follow up and check in with you to see where I'm at and if there's anything else I can do to further my candidacy? What's the best way for me to do that? So that would be the other thing I would ask at that point. And then whatever they tell you to do, I would follow through when they say. But understand that does happen. It doesn't always mean that they think you're not the right fit. A lot of times you're too good to be true and they need to, go kick the tires and check out a few other options. But that's how I would respond in that case in order to give you some sense of closure to know whether or not they have questions around your candidacy and also the steps that you can take to check back so that you don't just kind of go into the big black hole and never hear from them again, right? All right, good luck with that. I know it's tough, but that's part of the process. Okay. Let's say, J.O. says, how do you ask for more clarity on the future of a role when the company has asked you to meet people really high up but no internal clarity or on role or start date? Aha. Okay. So anytime a company asks you to meet with higher ups, but there's no clear role or start date, this is a company that is in a phase of hiring for the aptitude and the personality as opposed to the experience. And I talk about this a lot in our training inside Work It Daily. For those of you that don't know this, hiring managers hire on 3 things: personality, aptitude, and experience. And they hire in that order. And that's because you can have all the experience in the world, but if your personality isn't going to mesh with the team and the organization, then that's not good, right? Because you're going to bring the rest of the team down. You're not going to feel comfortable and at ease. They're not going to feel at ease. And then the aptitude is your ability to adapt and do it the way they need you to do it. So if you've been in a company for many years and you're used to one certain way, you may not do well in their company because you're going to keep saying, well, at XYZ, we did it this way. And they're saying, yes, but we do it this way. So whenever you're meeting higher ups, it's because they've got a sense that your personality and your aptitude are a good fit for them culturally. And that's actually a really good sign. I actually like to hear when employers are doing that because they're looking for fit. And they know that when somebody truly fits, that they just gel with the organization and great things happen. So I wouldn't get too hung up on that. My goal, or your goal, would be in this interview process to really get to know each person you're meeting with and say, what's important to you? Why do you like working here? And what do you want to see happen in this organization? And, what kind of results are you looking for? And even questions like, what keeps you up at night? What are the things that you're most worried about achieving with the company? Just listen to them and take it all in. You don't need to try to sell yourself on anything. This is an opportunity for you to learn. And at some point say, wow, this is a lot to take in. And I've found over time that when you do that, when you go in and you take that information in, you ask those great questions, what will happen is very similar to what a consultant does. A consultant goes in and does their due diligence. You'll see the opportunity. It'll form. And my guess is they know that too. And that is through the interactions with you, they'll say, oh, this is where your expertise is. We love your personality and we know you have the aptitude. We think you could provide value here. Let's carve that out. Let's make that the job. And that way you've created something you're really excited about and they feel confident you can do the job. So I love that they have you doing this. You shouldn't be intimidated or scared by it, but you should go in asking a lot of questions around what they need, what they're trying to accomplish. And then you can ask yourself, how do my skills support that? What could I do that would provide value, enough value to justify hiring me at the salary I want, right? So that's how that whole process works. But it's very, very exciting and good stuff. Okay. So where did 30 minutes go? I don't know. Office hours always go so quickly. I'm sorry, folks. I know that there are lots of questions today, but here's the thing. If you want to get your questions answered by career coaches that have been trained by me, myself, and the team that's in there, I'm in there, the rest of the team's in there, you just need to join Work It Daily. It's not hard. It's not expensive. It's easy to use. And I know we've got a lot of members here today that can vouch for it. And it's your way to talk with other members, get opinions and perspectives, but most importantly, get the right answers from people who are trained to give you the right answers. And I think that's the most important thing. It's funny. I'm going to tell you all a little quick story. I'm going to take on for 2 seconds to tell you this story, but I've been at this for a really long time. I became a certified career coach after my first child was born. So I've been at this for over 15 years as a career therapist. And prior to that, I was in HR and recruiting for many years. So I did a lot of professional development and employee development. So I've been at this a long time. And I say that because people told me that this business model would never work. People told me that the idea behind Work It Daily would never work. You know why they told me? They said people will never pay for career coaching. They're just going to want that coaching for free. They're going to want their employers to do it for them, or they're going to figure it out for themselves. And I think for a long time that was probably true because that's what we were taught. We were never taught how to build careers in school. College and high school taught us everything except how to get a job and how to build a career path and how to choose career decisions that were right for us. And then we'd go to work for these companies and we'd think we're getting career coaching, but you know what? They push their agenda on us, not our own agenda. Think about it. They were paying you to do a job, so they're going to coach you the way they want you to be coached. And I think it's only till recently that people have come to understand that if you want to build an amazing career and an amazing life, you need to invest in yourself. You need to have your own career coach, not somebody that has an agenda like an employer, right? Really somebody who has your back, your best interest. And so that's why we built Work It Daily. That was my vision behind this company. And to make it affordable, because the only people that could afford coaching for the longest time were pro athletes and executives who had hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend, who would spend, $300 to $500 a session and $1,000 a year with these private career coaches. Our goal was to give everyone access to elite level coaching. And so I tell you this whole story because so many people told me it would never work. So many people told me it was a crazy, dumb, silly idea. It would never work. And one of those people recently reached out to me on LinkedIn and he sent a note and he said, congratulations, you actually did it. And that made me feel so good because it made me realize that people finally understand now. If you want the best out of your life, you seek experts to help you, whether it's your finances, your health, right? Any area of our life, we seek professionals. Why wouldn't you seek one for a career? Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you giving yourself that gift? Is the question that I ask people all the time, especially now when it's so affordable. So I close with that because we always give people who attend office hours a special discount code that's good for today. And it saves you $10 a month off our subscription, makes it even cheaper to try us. So if you've ever been on the fence or if you're sitting here thinking, yes, JT, I deserve it, now you know why we built Work It Daily. Now you know where this passion came from. It comes from many, many years of people telling me it couldn't be done. But guess what? It's been done and it's working really, really well. And we would love you to join us too, okay? All right. Thanks, everyone. I'm so glad you stopped by. Of course, we'll be back next week for another office hour. So if you don't choose to join us at Work It Daily, you can always come back and check us out here. And of course, if you're new to our channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the little bell that will give you instant notifications. That way you'll know when we go live and you can try to get your questions answered next week, okay? All right, everyone. Loved being here with you. Have a great rest of the week. Good luck in everything that you do, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.